This is episode 14, recorded on June 8th, 2021. My guest today is Imam Kamruz Hosein, president of Jam and All Interfaith, an organization working towards the peaceful and harmonious coexistence of all believers, which includes Jews, Muslims, Christians, Bahai, to name just a few. Imam Kamruz is also the Muslim chaplain at Florida International University in Miami. His focus for at least the last 30 years, if not longer, is on building bridges among various faiths, including those just mentioned. Together with thousands of other imams, rabbis, Christian, and other religious leaders, he's been an outspoken voice against terrorism of any kind. He promotes nonviolence. I am so happy to have him with us today. It's Not What You Think podcast is available on all streaming platforms, so please like, comment, share, or subscribe on your favorite platform. That support is enough to continue to allow us to produce this show. Our interviews are with people who may have opinions different from yours or mine. So while we keep an open mind, just remember, it's not what you think. I'm going to welcome Imam Kamruz to It's Not What You Think. Thanks for being on the show. I'm very excited that you're here. How is your week so far?
So far, it's been pretty interesting and eventful. My computer was hacked. My bank account was hacked. So I'm now in the process of getting things sorted out, and you know what a bother that can be.
Yes, you and Colonial Pipeline and Scripps Hospital, from what I understand, something like every 8 or 10 minutes, there's some kind of hack going on in the country.
That's right.
So you're in good company.
Yeah, big company.
Does that make you feel better? No, probably not.
I'm not sure about that.
So sorry to hear that, but I'm thrilled that you're here. You're on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Especially after all that I've read about you and I and watched a lot of your videos. So thank you for joining us. So you grew up in Trinidad, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great. And when did you decide to become an imam? How did that come about?
Well, an imam is a title that has been foisted on me. Okay. I don't like the titles. I'm just a regular Joe Blow, okay. And but I have in my taking part in a lot of events and professional speaking assignments, and they ask they need a title because most people only recognize you when you have a title.
Right.
So the logical title for this would be Imam, but Imam in Islam simply means anyone who leads a group and is appointed by that group.
Right. Understood. Well, I love the title, but I understand sometimes people, they don't show you the respect or they don't take it as serious. Oh, Imam. Oh, okay. That's very good,
so yeah. Once you have that title, the title carries you, and I like the person to carry the title, not the title to carry the person.
Well said. well said. So, a lot of folks that I talk with have a very strong interest in meditation. Mm-hmm. And I'm very familiar with it, of course, from my Buddhist background and from other religions as well. But I know that it's part of the Muslim religion, but I don't think the general public really sees that. If someone says meditation, they pretty much think, oh, a Buddhist thing. They see a picture of a Buddha or that kind of thing. So what is your experience like from a meditation perspective in Islam?
Unfortunately, I am not one of those who subscribe to, and it's because in meditating you need to be disciplined, and you have to have a very what I would say strong character. You have to have stick-to-itiveness, none of which I have. So I have been a member of a group, and you would have known of the orders, what you call like Naqshbandi and Chishti. It's like similar Sufi groups.
Yes. Sufi. Yeah.
So I was a member of a group, Naqshbandi group, from probably age, I would say probably 15 to probably in my 40s.
Wow.
But I'm always a rebel. So I don't really conform to 100% of the belief system where that is concerned. The core value is what I agree with. And people get a lot of what I would say improve themselves, and it really helps them get through life when they meditate. So it's a fact of life. It's just that because of my indisciplined nature, um, don't get much from it because I have other ways of getting it.
Right.
But like I said, so like in all religions, you have the mystic part of it, and in Islam there is a Sufi system where a meditation where you think of God and you cleanse your mind of every other thought, and you only think of the light that comes from God, and it brings a lot of peace and solace, and calm yourself, and it's good. It's supposed to improve you as a person, improve your personality, correct all your character faults that you may have. But unfortunately, what has happened is that I find that a lot of these groups, when people belong to these groups, they tend to put themselves in a pedestal and feel that they're better than others. Whereas the very, very first teaching of any group, regardless of which religion it belongs to, is that of humility. The first teaching is that I am not better than anyone else. And unfortunately, that lesson gets pushed to the back, and the actual practice of the meditating comes to the fore, and forgetting what the purpose of it is.
Got it. So I very much appreciate everything you said, and I agree with that. When I teach meditation, and I've been teaching meditation now I've been meditating for about 40 years and teaching it for a very long time. And as long as someone does it, they get the benefits. You don't even have to do it well. That's the most amazing thing. Just by showing, and I'm not trying to convert you to meditation.
No.
But this is just for...
I was just being devil's advocate.
Right. Okay.
There. But because I do it, but like I said, I don't think I do it the right way, so to speak.
Well, here, that's the beauty. That's kind of the beautiful part of it, is even for someone who simply sits down for 5 minutes on a chair, on a pillow, whatever, and they have thousands of thoughts through their mind. Mm-hmm. Guess what? You still get the benefits. Now, I'm not saying this to convert anyone. I'm saying this because this is a scientific fact now.
It is.
Because now that they've measured, the various monks from different religions and, MRI and all that, they now show that. So it's very, very productive. I don't want people to watch and think that, if I don't do it well, or I don't have discipline, I'm not going to get the benefit. The fact of the matter is, if someone sits for 10 or 15 minutes and all they do is, there's a thought, let me go back to my breath. There's a thought, let me go back to the light. If you want to, there's all millions of types of meditation, and that's all they do all the time is, it's another distraction. Let me go back to my breath. They will be served very, very well.
And I agree.
Right. So that meaning the goal is not I want to be a great meditator.
Right.
That's not the point. It's much more process oriented. As long as you do it, as long as you get in the game, it's a big win. And I tell that to a lot of, I haven't taught in quite a while, but I used to tell it to my students all the time, and they used to think I'm trying to sell them something. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's just a fact.
It's just a matter of getting away from the realm of
self, of the ego,
and get into a little space where you have some silence and quiet and refresh and rejuvenate the system. And that I agree with.
Right. Even if the mind is still doing this, what they don't realize is the mind is doing this a little bit less. Doesn't feel like it. They don't notice it. Of course, over a long period of time, you notice it. But in the short run, you think like, that 15, 20 minutes, that was horrible. I stink at this. That's not what we do. That's not how we teach it. Now, what's interesting is in my research, because unfortunately, I don't know that much about Islam, although now I'm an expert because I was on the internet for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. the Prophet Muhammad was well known for his meditation practice, apparently.
Yes, the matter of fact, that is when he got his revelation. Yeah.
Apparently he went into a cave in Mount Hira for meditation, contemplation, prayer. And I also want to differentiate meditation is different than prayer. But meditation can support prayer.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to take over your role as imam.
No. Be free. And I'm everything you say that I agree with,
Okay. I like it when people disagree.
Yeah, no.
That's so. Yeah, it doesn't replace worship. The purpose is really to for those people that do worship. There's plenty of people that meditate.
Yeah.
They have no interest in that, and that's okay. But for those Jews, Christians, Hindus, Muslims that do Buddhists that pray, meditation is a way to enhance the prayer, because it's very hard to pray if you're busy thinking about lunch or sex or money or all these things. So it gives you a little bit of control over where you place your mind, and therefore when it is time to pray, it can enhance it.
Yeah, and then there's so many different ways of meditation. For example, one of my popular ones, I go outside in the patio and I look outside at the trees and the sky and the birds and the bees and the people passing by, and take it all in. And it's all sort of it's a realization of the beauties of creation.
Right.
And it's the beginning of awareness to give thanks for all that you see and all that you're about, especially if you enjoy good health. And good health means anything that's better than the other guy's health.
Spoken directly from Florida, I might add.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned in your introduction, which you didn't hear, how wonderful a person you are when I introduce you. I record that separately. So obviously, you I don't know if it's obvious, but you've been doing interfaith work now for at least 30 years.
Yeah.
Probably longer is what it seems like. So what triggered you to do that? What was your motivation? Because it took me a while to get there.
Well, the thing about it is that although I was born a Muslim, I always believed that anyone who borns into a faith should reach to a point where they have conscious acceptance of the principles of that faith. In other words, have a conviction. So that I was born a Muslim, but I would say that I became a Muslim when I probably was about 15 or 16 years. In other words, then I was looking at the principles and the mission statements and, thinking of things in a very pragmatic way. I'm a skeptic, so I always ask questions. You tell me jump, regardless of your scholar. I don't say how high, I say why. And this applies to everything, even my religion, my scriptures, scholars of the faith. The same applies. So, what was that? What was when I became?
So, how did you get into interfaith?
Oh yeah, right, interfaith.
Work.
So, an integral part of my faith, a basic teaching of my faith, is interfaith. Because first to begin, Islam says there is no compulsion in religion. So God is saying to us, there is no compulsion in religion, which means that anyone is free to choose their religion, which is based on their conviction and from their faith. And also, it continues to say, Lakum dinakum waliya din. To you, your faith, your thinking, your thought processes, to me, mine. Because whoever we are is the result of where we came from, who we are associated with, the family in which we were born in, the country in which we live, the community, the customs, the traditions. We are the product of that. So that there is no right and wrong when it comes to that, because it's all relevant to the person. So that is why God says, to you, your faith, to me, my faith. Because I would have arrived at my way of thinking based on all of this background that I had coming with me. And not only does my religion say that about the faith in general, it specifies in the Quran at chapter 2, 136 says, we believe in Almighty God and the revelation given to us and to Abraham, to Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob. Anyone who believes in Almighty God and the last day and works righteousness, on them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. So
Beautiful.
here it is, he's talking about all the
Beautiful.
things here. And then 3:3 says, it is he who sent down to thee step by step the truth, the book, confirming that which went before. In other words, the Quran is saying, me, the Quran, I am confirming the previous scriptures that was sent down by the law of Moses, the gospel of Jesus before this Quran, as a guide to mankind. And he sent down the criterion of judgment between right and wrong. So here it is. And then he says, 2:256, let there be no compulsion in religion.
Mm-hmm.
Truth stands out clear from error. Whoever rejects evil and believes in Almighty God has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that will never break. Almighty God is all hearing, all knowing. Again, to every people we have appointed rites and ceremonies, not only to Muslims, not only to Christians, not only to Jews, to every people we have appointed rites and ceremonies which they must follow. Let them not dispute with thee on this matter, but invite them to Almighty God, for thou art surely on the right way.
Beautiful. Really beautiful. So, what's interesting is we have these great men, women, saints, beautiful people, Muhammad, Jesus Christ, etc., the Buddha. And they didn't say, I'm going to start a religion. You're either with me or you're against me. They didn't say that.
It never said that. No?
They said, this is how I lead my life. Kindness, compassion, and if you want to be happy or you want to have a better afterlife or a better future life, then be these things: kindness, compassion for yourself and for others. That, I like to quote the Dalai Lama, because I'm a Buddhist, and he said, my religion is kindness.
All religion is kindness.
All religion is kind. Exactly. He talks about, when he talks about the people in the world, he says, I have 8-9 billion brothers and sisters. That's how he looks at it. So, and once again, the quote you read is not about, hey, you got to sign up here if you want to be on my team, and there's other teams, and there's this team, and that. There's none of that. So, that really is the basis, I think, for your interfaith work, which is you're saying, hey, that's really just part of being a Muslim, or part of being a Buddhist. Is Buddhists are trying to reduce suffering, not just for Buddhists, for all people.
That's the irony of the whole situation. Is that which was sent to bring man together is being used to divide mankind.
It's brutal.
Now, if you look at all the great sayings of Dalai Lama, of the Buddhist faith, of the Hindu faith, they're all common. They're all the same. They're all in Islam. They're all in the Quran. They're all in the Bible. It's the same message. Yeah. But this is what happens here, where the Quran mentions the reason for this. And he says here in Quran 3:7, it is he, and he's talking about the Quran, and it also applies to other scriptures. It is he who has revealed the book to you. Some of the verses are decisive and is the basis of the book. The other, they're allegorical.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely.
But those in whose heart is perversity, they follow the path which is allegorical, seeking to mislead and cause discord and gives their own interpretation. So when God wants you to know that you have to run 10 miles to be healthy, he says, run 10 miles.
Right.
You follow?
Yeah.
If he wants to leave it up to you, he said, run far.
Right.
Now, one guy would come up and say, mile, this, you know what is the meaning of far? The far is 5 miles.
Right.
The other guy said, no, the far is 10 miles.
Right.
So we have a 5-mile group and we have a 10-mile group.
And the 5-mile group is wrong, and the 10-mile group is right. There's got to be one wrong and one right.
So let's not get along. They
Right.
don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
All right. And another guy comes and says, no, it's 15 miles.
I'm going to start my own group.
Yeah. So now you have 3 groups. Right. Now, one brother is in 5-mile group, one sister is in the 10-mile group, and the father is in the 15-mile group.
Right.
So they don't talk to one another.
Right. Yeah. So it reminds me of a joke. I'm probably not going to tell it well, where there are, I think, 2, and it could be for any religion, but there are 2 Jews on an island, and they say, it's the Sabbath is coming. We have to build a synagogue. Go, how many synagogues should we build? He goes, well, we need to build 3. Why 3? There's only 2 of us. Because there's got to be a synagogue. That's the one I won't go to. Anyways, so you're the president of an incredible interfaith organization called JAM and All, which I believe was created as a result of out of 9/11.
9/11.
So can you tell us a little bit about what JAM and All does, their activities?
Well, post 9/11, our founder, David Kamrat, he was kind of a Holocaust survivor. Good guy. He's moved to Oregon right now. He had a heart attack recently. We pray for him. So he, after 9/11, of course, it was there where it is said that some Muslim guys did a lot of nonsense, committed some heinous crimes. And then, of course, the situation in Palestine and Israel. And then he thought that this was a time where there was needed conversation between Muslim and Jews. So he got together with a Muslim leader of the community and 1 or 2 others, and he started this group called JAM, which is Jews and Muslims.
Ah, beautiful.
Right. So then we were going down. I said, listen, it's not JAM. If it's JAM, Jews and Muslims, we got to include everyone else, because everybody else impacts everybody else's lives. So we need to have the info. So we then were trying to find out how we're going to be inclusive of the other faiths. So we had Christians and Jews and others and Buddhists, a lot of Buddhists in the group, and we thought that we couldn't put the letter for each one of the faiths, so we just decided, and it was unanimously agreed that we'll put all.
Right.
So that is how JAM and All came about.
Right.
So we have been in existence since 9/11. And I think we have been doing fantastic work, because for 1, we have survived. For 2, we have grown. And like I tell my members, my board, that, I think we're doing very well, because a lot of organizations, because they have more funding and better PR, they are more widely known than we are.
Right.
But we have been steadily growing. We have had before COVID, we used to have like 3 meetups per month in 3 different locations.
Okay.
Where we simply bring people together on a round table to talk, to meet, to greet. And it's an amazing experience when you see a Jew sitting next to a Muslim who they've never met before, sitting next to a Hindu who they have never met before. And of course, they would obviously have had stereotypes and preconceptions of who they are. And when they sat at the table and they started talking and relating to each other, they realized that all of the blood was red. They never know that the all blood was red before. They thought probably the Muslim had green blood and the Hindus had yellow blood.
Right.
And it's amazing to sit at these tables and watch these people. And you don't have to have an agenda. That's the beauty about it.
Right.
If you choose an agenda, I guarantee you, and this I've seen this over and over again, you choose an agenda, or we're going to talk on how you pray in the different faiths. And that's a theme you're supposed to be talking about. And then we go around and you introduce yourself. And the introduction leads to a story, leads to an experience, leads to a building of bridges and relationship. And it's lovely to see how they get along. And this has been happening for years, and we have been expanding. We have had town hall meetings, we have had picnics, we have roundtable meetings, we have meetups. Now we have, because of COVID, we have it on Zoom. So we have an average attendance. Sometimes we have 150 people signing up for our Zoom.
Amazing.
50, 60 people at a time, and we split up into groups, and we have discussion among ourselves and come forward with a common theme of the discussion. And like I said, it's amazing.
And what's interesting is that, now we're going for about 20 years or so, maybe 9, whatever it is people now have friendships that have probably lasted a long time. It's nice when you just meet someone else and you get along. That's great. I love that.
And you see, you break down that barrier of fear. And I believe when you become friend with someone, you should be able to tell them anything.
Right.
That relationship should be an open one. So, we had a women's group that was going around, and sometimes they would have discussions like, and one of the very interesting ones was, when you think of a Jew, what do you think of?
Mm-hmm.
When you think of a Muslim, what do you think
Absolutely.
of? And they had to come out in the open.
Yeah.
Some people say Muslim, I think of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say Jew, I think of cheap.
Yeah.
And it goes on. But
the stereotypes are there.
And talk, and that is where the true bond of friendship is established. And I went to an international, as a matter of fact, 2 international interfaith groups, conventions in Washington, and looking to see if I can get similar groups. And one of the things that I found out was that there are groups that are interfaith, but they don't have people of different faiths. They're interfaith, meaning that we are open to the acceptance of other people.
Right.
We're not exclusive. So we're a Christian group, but we are interfaith. So if you're a Muslim or a Jew and you want to come, you are welcome. But I was so pleasantly surprised to see that I know they have other group, but just I couldn't find them.
Right.
So we're the group where you find everybody is meeting at a grassroots level, and we keep politics out of it. And I think that's one reason.
Yeah. So what's interesting is, a lot of the misperception, preconceived notions of who others are, other religions, they're very deep-seated. They've been around for a long time. You grow up with some of them, some of those about who that type of person is. I know I did. Mm-hmm. And, whether it comes from your parents or your teachers or your culture, wherever it comes from. And then we live with those notions for a long time, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, et cetera years. And then at some point, maybe some of us realize, like you said, no, they're the same as us. They feel pain. They feel suffering. They feel joy. Their blood is there. We realize that, but we have such a heavy, deep history of these thoughts. So the good news is, over time, if we can train ourselves to think those poorly thought out thoughts, we can also train ourselves to unthink them. But it occurs to me that the critical thing is to get these, when we're children, is to teach these interfaith concepts and notions early on, so we don't have to reverse them 40, 50, 60 years later.
And I'll give you an example of that. A couple of years ago, I was the coordinator for the Department of State Youth Exchange Program, where they brought in students from Afghanistan in the heat of things.
Right.
to spend 1 year here so that they can get a feel of the culture and the education system and get exposed to it. So I would tell them when they come, I said, listen, America is a great place. It's a wonderful place. Your place used to be a nice place. When you come here, you do not give up your principles, nor do you accept all of our principles. I want you to analyze it and take the best of the both worlds and put them together.
Sure.
Now, what you were just saying there, I experienced this. We took the day before one group went back to Afghanistan, we took the 4 students to a synagogue school in Western, at about 400 students. So they were asking questions and they were talking and whatnot. So at the end, one of our students called Rafi, he said, I'm going back tomorrow. What message would you like me to take back to your brothers and sisters in Afghanistan? And my hair raised when I told you this story. A 12-year-old Jewish student with his yarmulke stood up and said, let them know that we are all different on the outside, but we are the same on the inside. So you see all these norms that we impinge on ourselves comes afterwards, not at birth. We didn't come with it. These
Right.
are baggage that we loaded on. We loaded on this baggage. And this is what we have to try and get rid of. And we have to do it at the young people level. So we've just started a youth arm of JAM and all.
Beautiful.
And I'm so impressed at the thought processes, and the ideas they have there. Young people is where we need to put all our focus on.
Yeah, we can learn quite a bit from them because they have not been misshaped yet by society and culture. Maybe they never will if we keep their minds open. I grew up I went to a yeshiva for 12 years and I did not have that experience. My experience was much more closed-minded and they versus us, and very fear-based, a lot of fear. Nothing like fear to get you going. And so education is one of my hot spots because I believe that it can be done with the goal of education. The goal should be happiness and growth,
And freedom of thought.
And freedom of thought and open-mindedness, freedom of thought, same thing. And then, let's teach you some stuff. Absolutely. But sometimes the shoe is on the other foot where it's about competitiveness and grades and success and very goal-oriented. And it's very unfortunate. So I have some thoughts about that for my future to see what I can do with education. It's nothing to do with religion. It has to do with just when you look at people.
Well, it has to do with religion because whatever you're thinking there is in a positive way is with religion.
Understood. But when they measure the mental health in this country, it is a lot worse than in countries that have a fraction of our wealth, financial wealth.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to kind of look at that and you got to say, gee, why is that? We have all the money and the cars and all this and food and vaccinations, and yet our state of mind is so poor. So we have to ask ourselves, we have to stop and say, what's going on? Because at the end of the day, I think we all agree, that, hey, the wealth does not give you the happiness.
That's the problem.
But yet we're chasing it, but we're going the wrong direction. We're chasing the wrong thing. So, a lot of that has to do with education and how we're trained as we grow. We're going to try to solve all the world's problems right now. By the way, you and I just want to let you know that.
It could be difficult. It's very easy.
So I had read that you do work as a chaplain for FIU, Florida International University.
Yeah,
What is that? What is that like? What is that environment like for you as a chaplain there?
tough, tough, very tough. Um, the university decided that they needed to have an organization within it that would look after the faith of its students, multi-faith. So they formed a multi-faith council. So I am on board. The idea being, so same like any other multi-faith, bring people of different faiths together. So we have a lot of challenges there. One, that the university uh, um, group is transitional. Um, they're not focused on this. They are all affiliated to their various churches and faith groups. And the same thing that applies outside in the adult world, where you have this fear or lack of desire to meet others because of the fear of the unknown. The same thing applies there. So you would find that the Muslim group might not want to get involved with another group that has Jewish
Of course,
members, and
right.
vice versa. You may find a Christian group that has a philosophy that they're on the right way and path, and they're the only ones on the right path, and as such, there's no need to become involved in others. So the ills of the society as a whole is reflected at the student level. So that's one of the challenges, to get people to take the time off and to become. Now, what I found in the total scenario is that people don't want to get involved or know about another faith, because why take on another burden on my shoulders? I'm worrying about life. I'm worrying about making a living. I have my family to look after, my job, my health, and all that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that aspect, which they say is the most important aspect of their life, they will put in the hands of the rabbi, the pandit, the imam, the priest. Say, Father or Imam, you handle that. Or I'm not going to think about that.
Right.
You tell me what to do, I do it. And then God asks me anything. I said, ask that guy, he's my rep. So they compartmentalize. Then they take the most important aspect of the life and they put it in another person's hand, because they've been taught that that is the way to do it. And I am trying to break that cycle with young people, trying to tell them you have to think, you have to reason. And when somebody tells you something, think of it and see whether it makes sense. Don't accept blindly. Come to your own, formulate your own thoughts. Even though you might be wrong, sooner or later, because of your desire to find the truth, and because you're looking to get some conviction, you will find the truth. And that truth will be applicable to you, and it may be the right one for you. It may not seem to be right for someone else, but the important thing is that you have done sincerely looking for the truth and you have found it. And that is what Almighty God wants.
Yeah. So no, it's a lot of good points, and it's very unfortunate some of what you described. I have a teacher. His name is Lama Lanang, and he says sometimes most people's lives, the most important thing first comes their family, then comes their job and they're making money, then comes their social life, then comes their spiritual practice. And I'm going to add on one more thing. Then comes their interfaith work. And I get it, especially when you're younger, you're busy, you're trying to career, and money, and girlfriend and faith and family and all that. And then who's got time to study and practice and meditate and pray and all, go to temple, go to the mosque, And then after that, as if that's not enough. And now, you want me to go meet with those people?
Yeah.
So I kind of understand it. I really do. But once again, it's putting the emphasis in the wrong place. What people don't realize, and people including me, I'm on that list too, is that by doing that wonderful work, all that other stuff feels great. That's going to shift you more and change your state of mind and, to use a fancy word, and enlighten you and allow you to be happier than if you do a great job at work and make a little bit more money. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but that ain't where the payoff, that's not where the big payoff is.
Unfortunately, that realization comes a little too late sometimes.
I don't, yeah. And that's a hard sell. It's a truism
Mm-hmm.
for any person of spirituality, any religion, but it's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell, and we need to get proper packaging and proper labeling. That's a tough one.
And I think that's where, in this country, maybe celebrities, I'm just trying to think out loud here, can come into play, the right celebrities, because people look up to the celebrities. They look up to the singer, basketball player, and a lot of people really stepped up over the last year and a half. I don't remember their names because I'm not that familiar with popular culture, but folks have donated, basketball players donated $100,000 to make sure that community gets vaccinated, or, that kind of thing, or make sure those kids in that poor area, they have computers so they can log in and so people have stepped up to the plate, but we need more of that, because my voice is too small. Your voice is great. It's wonderful, but it's also,
that's not it.
How do we get these people to understand that this is where you need to be focused on? Because if you're focused on this, then all that other stuff is going to fall into place.
Yeah, it's even the churches, they have a problem with reaching out to the young people. What's amazing in that, and it's scary to some people who look at Muslims as a threat, in that even in the case, in the conditions we're living under with the COVID-19, when I go to the mosque on Fridays, I'm so amazed at the attendance. It's overflowing. Observing the correct distance, mask testing with the temperature, but they come out. And to me, it's miraculous. I mean, some of them have to have 2 services because they can't. And that is after saying that the women should not come to the mosque under these conditions.
Right.
And old people should not come either. But what is happening is that for some reason, the message, I think, is still too narrowly focused. Because people are looking for leadership, and they normally accept what comes from the pulpit. And although you would find, and I've seen this a lot, is that we have met so many leaders, imam and priests and rabbis who their heart is in interfaith, lovely, wonderful people. They're like my brothers. But the message coming from the pulpit is not effective enough, not enough propagation at that level, so that it's mentioned in passing. And the theme remains that, not consciously, but and I wouldn't say the message, not that the message delivered, but the message received, is that we're still the chosen ones and we are still better than others.
Right.
Not that they're saying it, but the whole system is designed to capture and keep that group together, that community together, under the control of whoever is in leadership. And I don't think there's enough of that leadership outside there who themselves have enough knowledge of interfaith to be able to deliver the message properly, or constructively. Because one of the sad things about leaders is that they know very little of the other faiths, and it's because they don't need to do it.
Right.
They don't. Right. I know. For example, I know a rabbi, and I will call his name Rabbi Gross. If I had to give a lecture on Islam and I couldn't find someone to give it, I will call him. I will call him. It happened to me several years ago too, where I needed someone to give a talk on Islam, and I couldn't find someone. And there was a Christian brother that I knew who I could have called to give a talk on Islam. So I think leaders have to broaden their scope. It has to start with the top.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot of interesting points. One is that inherent in the way our religious leaders lead is that subtle, we're the right team. Be nice to the others, please. Let's be nice to the others, of course. Yeah. But we're, wink, wink, we're really the, I know that about 25 years ago, the Dalai Lama met with a Jewish delegation. And one of the issues that came up was, a lot of our Jewish young people are becoming Buddhists. It's a problem for us. What can you do? Mm-hmm. And he said, honestly, they probably are coming to Buddhism because we have an esoteric nature to a lot of what we do, but you have it too. And so you shouldn't hide it or hold it back. Mm-hmm. You should offer that esoteric nature to the young people, and they'll probably want to stay and become, wonderful Jews. Mm-hmm. But since that meeting, whenever I've seen the Dalai Lama speak in public, he tells people, look, Buddhists, we have a lot to offer. And if you're part of another religion, keep that religion. Just take whatever tools you need from us, but stay and bring it to your own religion. But, you want meditation, you want karma, whatever it is, just take it. Yours, we'll teach it to you.
Yeah.
But no, you don't have to become a Buddhist. Because his goal, which I think is similar to your goal, is, hey, let's just be kind, compassionate human beings. You want to stick a label on your forehead that says Jew or Buddha or what? Great, no problem. But you don't need to.
On that point, a couple of years ago, a young guy told me, well, not young, he's married and children. He says, Brother Kamruz, you're in this interfaith thing for so many years. How many people have you converted to Islam? I said, none. He said, none? He said, why? I said, well, you see, if I meet a Jew, my advice to him is be a good Jew. If I meet a Hindu, my advice to him will be a good Hindu. And if you're a Christian, be a good Christian. So if you're a good Hindu, a good Jew, a good Muslim, and a good Bahai, whatever you are, we'll get along. This would be a wonderful world. And we all would have achieved the objectives that God wanted us to achieve.
Well, yeah, well said. And what I have found is, I'm doing all these podcasts with rabbis and Buddhists and Hindus and now, Muslims. At some point in the conversation, there's no difference. Yeah, we could have different, have a different Bible here and a different Bible over there, but the core, there's really no difference, which I appreciate. And I liked what you were talking about, getting back to Jam and All, where we sit around a table and we just talk, because it's reminiscent to me of an organization that I'm a supporter of. Not I don't know them personally per se, but they do an incredible job, so I support them. It's called the Compassionate Listening Project. They're up in Washington. I mention them a lot on the podcast because it's so applicable. And what they do is they train individuals how to listen. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm not that good at it. How to focus, pay attention, listen to someone's words, to their energy, to their true meaning, things like that. Just listen. Don't be, oh, I disagree with that, or oh, I would say it differently, or I don't think he's right. No, just listen. And then what they do is they send people, delegations into hotspots around the world. Palestine is one of them, Palestine and Israel, the Bosnia Accords, all kind of hotspots all over. And they get people in a room together. So it could be an Israeli and a Palestinian, more than one, could be 20 or 30 of each. And they sit there for a whole weekend and they just talk. One talks, one listens. A lot of crying, a lot of tears, because you get to hear about how, my son was killed and your son was tortured and all these. But very, very quickly, people learn, like we said earlier, blood is red. We all feel pain. We all feel suffering. And this has really created an incredible bond amongst people because they walk into the room very resistant, as we would. It's very normal. It's natural. My families have been made to feel horrible and second-rate citizens and all this. So they go with the resistance and they walk out with truly best friends. So that whole, so it sounds to me like you're doing some of that with Jam and all just by listening.
As a matter of fact, we had a town hall meeting based on that exact thing. We had a consultant come in, and that was the theme: listening, the art of listening.
It's very hard, very, very hard to do. It reminds me of another story where it goes back 4 or 5 years when I think when President Trump first came into office, a lot of, and still is, a lot of, acrimony amongst within the United States. And these two cities got together, one up in Massachusetts, one, I don't remember where, I want to say Virginia, West Virginia, and Democrat and Republican, and they were tired of all this acrimony, and they decided to have a dialogue with each other over the phone, over the computer, whatever. And they eventually visited each other and they had dinner at each other's homes for the weekend, that whole calling thing. And now they might disagree on should we have higher taxes, lower tax. They might have those, but it's without acrimony. It's without the other stuff that goes along with it. And now over 5 years or so, or 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, they're friends, which is amazing because they know that it's the same thing. You lost your job because they put the company out of business. You lost your job because they put, they all have it. We all have our stories, and the stories are the same.
I was talking at a synagogue once, so I was telling Manu, how would it look if I was speaking to you and that the whole audience, 300 or 400 people, was all white. It's like a bowl of white rice, no taste. We need to put some black sauce. We need some pepper sauce. We need some, sweet peppers, and we need different colors. And the same thing with our opinions and views. Nobody wants to live in a world where everybody thinks the same thing.
Right.
Then everybody will just shut up. You have to find a reason to disagree now.
Right.
So this is part of the whole scheme, the whole tapestry of creation that makes it beautiful. We dress differently, we eat differently, we look differently, we think differently, we speak differently. That's part of the beauty of this creation.
Yeah, and actually that's very natural when you think about it. People are different. That's called normal and natural. It's only when we segregate, to use a dirty word, that's not natural. That's not natural. So it's an illusion to feel that everyone is like you. So, I found in these interviews that when people are able to do these difficult and highly valuable types of work, like interfaith work, they usually along the way have, personal difficulties. You look at Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus Christ, they had a lot of a lot of difficulties getting through their life. Were there any personal difficulties that you can share that you were able to overcome through your spiritual practice?
I have to say, unfortunately, no. And the reason why I say unfortunately, no, because when things like that happen, you tend to learn, you get lessons out of it, and you come out better.
Right.
So I have been able to, I don't know if it happened and I wasn't aware of it. That's how I should put it. So probably there was, but I was never aware of it. Thank God I've been able to pull through. Everything seemed to be working fine. Of course, we have disagreements. We have disagreements all the time. I mean, although I'm president, I don't force my views. As a matter of fact, two major decisions are being made right now, and I let them know this is what I think, this is what my views are, but you go ahead, whatever the majority says goes. Sometimes I go to meetings, I say nothing. So it's you're the first thing you have to agree to disagree. And once you do that, then everything just flows smoothly after.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story read in the New York Times maybe a month ago, where this African American, it wasn't African American, I keep saying that. He's a black kid, I think he was from Kenya, came to this country with his family, were running away as refugees from, torture, horrible situation. And the kid learned how to play chess, I think when he was 7 years old, in the public schools, probably New York. And by the time he was 10, kid's a genius, he became some kind of grandmaster or whatever like that. So the interviewer says, how does it feel when you lose? And the kid is 10 years old. And he goes, oh, I don't lose, I learn.
Beautiful.
Like 10 years old. It was brilliant. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing is because I make so many mistakes. I mean, mistakes are one of the most things, the biggest part of my life, making mistakes. But then you mistakes are good because that's the only way you can learn. And that's the most effective way to learn, is when you actually make the mistake and go through the process of correcting.
Yeah, everything else is theoretical until you actually do it.
Yeah.
So who do you look towards for inspiration? Do you have any, hero, alive or dead, who would be?
Well, the Prophet Muhammad is my inspiration, my example, and there are other very great servants of knowledge, of religion, of all faiths, different faiths, not necessarily Islam. But like I said, I respect their teachings. As a matter of fact, last night I was listening to Rabbi Friedman from New York, talking about the afterlife. Very, very interesting. And of course, I agree with probably, I would say 85%. 85%. And I even thought of it, I would love to have a discussion with him, because most of the stuff, of course, this is a very, what I would say, gray area where a lot of people feel very strongly and have very, very strong views. Of course, my views are not mainstream. I disagree with so many people in my faith and what it is. So I look to other faiths, and like I said, truth is truth wherever you find it. Wisdom is wisdom wherever you find it. And if you look at the spiritual ones of the Jewish faith, it's like reading Sufi philosophy, and the same with Christianity, and the same with Hinduism. As a matter of fact, one of the Afghan students asked me, Pops, if you were not a Muslim, what other faith would you choose? And I said Hinduism. He was aghast. Hinduism? You're going to be crazy. That's furthest away from us. I said, no, you don't know the core values. You don't record teachings and principles. If you knew it, you're looking at what you've been told and what you've seen and whatnot. But when you look at it, the essence, it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very interesting. Yeah, that's a great story. Anyways, good. Well, anyways, I've loved this conversation with you. I'm thrilled that I met you. I think we covered everything. I think we pretty much solved the world's problems, which is kind of what
Yes,
we managed to do that.
I would just like to add as to what is one other very beautiful saying of the prophet.
Please.
He who believes in God in the last day should honor his guest. He who believes in God in the last day should not annoy his neighbors, so that he may hear the word granted. Yeah, he should not annoy his neighbors. And he who believes in God in the last day should say what is good or keep silent. And another interesting saying is, if anyone amongst the polytheists, the idolaters, the pagans, or the disbelievers in one God, ask thee for asylum, grant it to them, so that they may hear the truth and the word of Almighty God. Then escort him to where he can be secure. That is because they were men without knowledge or understanding.
Amen. All right, Imam Kamruz, thank you so much for joining me on It's Not What You Think, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Yes, sure, certainly, and it was an honor and a privilege to be part of this podcast. Thank you very much. I think it was. I thank my brother Mark.
Right.
He is one of a group of. We have a Christian bishop, and Mark and myself. I call us the Three Blind Mice.
Okay. Very good.
And I thank him for putting me in touch with you. I really appreciated this opportunity, and look forward probably to meeting you in person
Yes,
one of
absolutely.
these days.
Absolutely.
Whether you're down here or I'm up there.
Great.
And we certainly keep in touch. And I am always available for whatever purpose you would want to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you again. Appreciate
Stay
it.
safe.
God love. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you. Stay safe. Take care.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed our talk with Imam Kamruz Hosein. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the It's Not What You Think podcast. That really helps us to continue to produce these episodes and invite other guests from around the world. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or would like to hear any specific guests on the podcast, please share my email, mordylevine@gmail.com, or visit mordylevine.com. Remember, it's not what you think.